Hello everyone, this is Thibault, founder of Ovyang. I'm extremely happy to be with you today. For this presentation, GEO Pro 2026, the method that will explain how to get mentioned by AIs and turn that visibility into clients. Let's get started right away. Today, we're going to tackle a problem. The problem, probably the number one issue for your business, client acquisition. Everyone wants to be mentioned first by ChatGPT because we know it can easily solve our client acquisition problem. Knowing that the conversion rate is extremely high when it comes to recommendations via AIs. But we have several problems with this. First, very few people know what concrete actions to take. Next, second point, the link between SEO and generative AI is still not understood today. And lastly, influencers make claims and assumptions every day on social media. This creates a huge mental fog for us and prevents us from taking concrete action on our website. So today, you don't know what actions to take on your site to effectively reach your prospects through AI recommendations. So before I tell you why you should listen to Thibault and this presentation, I'm going to give you a brief introduction about what you'll get in this video and who I am, what my experience is, and why I'm qualified to talk about this topic on this subject. At the end of this presentation, you'll walk away with three things. First, my agency strategy that I use every day for my clients in my SEO agency. Next, a clear GEO process to get cited by AIs that you can apply from home. And since I'm generous, I want to offer you an analysis. A 100% free GEO analysis of your site without needing to talk to anyone using my software. Quickly, just to give you a bit of background about myself and my experience in SEO, I started out as a freelance SEO in 2021, where I immediately began working with American startups when GPT 3.5 exploded onto the scene. Then, 2 years later, after I had gained some experience, I decided to launch my own site, my own business in affiliate marketing, which I'll introduce to you in just a moment. And alongside that, since I was getting good results, I launched my SEO agency in 2023. And in 2024, I founded Sorank, my software for SEO, basically for search engine optimization, and now GEO, to be indexed in AIs. Today, my agency and my software share the same name. It's a single entity. Since launching my agency, I have supported over 100 companies and carried out more than 400 filmed and recorded SEO audits. And today, with my team, we manage traffic of about 10 million visitors. So, the results from my site are probably the most important thing to concretely show you what I've been able to implement. First, I created a platform called lacreme.ai where I do affiliate marketing with software. This site has been documented on my YouTube channel and I attracted over 100,000 visitors in less than 12 months, with only blog articles generated by artificial intelligence. If we look at my Google Analytics dashboard, we can see the number of visitors who have come since then. Copilot, Perplexity, TGPT, Gemini, and even Mistral. All of these visitors were tracked, and I was able to get more than 8,341 visitors on this Webflow site. All in all, passively, without advertising, without partnerships, or paid SEO, only by using free organic search engine optimization. Here, we have an average visit duration that is really much higher than what I usually get on my site. Usually, it's more around 20 seconds. When people come from Google, but when they come from AIs, depending on the pages they visit, they can stay for more than a minute on my site, which is really huge for averages. Then, in my agency, I have supported many companies. The problem with that is that most of the companies I work with don't want me to share their results, because they're afraid competitors will come and copy our strategies. Fortunately, thanks to Rashid from Elisa Cosmetics, who allowed me to share their results. So Elisa Cosmetics is a fantastic brand for hair straightening treatments, and more specifically Brazilian straightening. On their website, we were able to skyrocket their traffic from Google, but also generate revenue for them through AI. Here, as you can see, we have their graph, which is based solely on their blog. I added a small filter. So we went from less than 100 visitors per day to over 250 visitors per day on their site thanks to their blog. And when we look at which pages are most visited by the AIs, we can see that we have quite a few pages here with really interesting engagement times. But what's most interesting is the return on investment. We made 1,477.48 euros thanks to AI-based search engine optimization. And here we had less SEO because we really focused on ChatGPT, and as a result, we had sales coming from ChatGPT and AI software, as well as Perplexity and Perplexity.ai. And finally, all the other clients I've worked with, some of them allow us to display their logo. And for example, Carol, we didn't track that on Google Analytics because she gets direct phone calls. So at the end of the call, once she signed a new client, she asked them, where did they come from? And now I'll let you hear Carol's testimonial, which only lasts a few seconds.
This morning, I received a request from 50 people, and actually, the person found me thanks to ChatGPT. The person was a searching agency. What are some fun activities to do in the bar? I think that was it. And in fact, they asked ChatGPT and bam, Wakata came up. Congratulations, that is great. Thank you, team.
There you go. So Carol has signed more than 150 clients thanks to good SEO on TGPT. Because she has a team building event agency, which is local, specifically in the Paca region. And thanks to her good SEO, she was able to land a big deal. So this method works with agencies, e-commerce sites, software companies, as well as coaches and infopreneurs. So whether it's B2B or even B2C. Okay, so now that you've seen why I'm qualified to talk about this topic, we're going to jump straight into point 4, a recap of SEO. The goal of this video is really to explain to everyone how to get better search rankings. So we're going to go over some basics. Very quickly, organic or natural search ranking, SEO on Google and Bing, relies on 3 main pillars. Technical aspects, making sure the site is accessible, fast, and well structured for indexing by search engines. Also, it needs to be available on both mobile and desktop. Next, the second point, content. Creating relevant pages optimized around the right keywords to address search intent. That's very important. If tomorrow someone types coffee mug into Google, they're probably looking for a product page to buy a coffee mug. If tomorrow you create a contact page targeting the keyword coffee mug, your ranking will be poor because Google has detected that people are searching for product pages, not contact pages. It's very simple. Ultimately, popularity is often the most underestimated pillar in SEO. It's about building your site's authority by getting quality inbound links from other websites. For example, if you're selling coffee mugs, it would be great if, say your supplier for instance, who can create a profile about our company on their website and include a link to our page. This will help us achieve better rankings, higher positions on Google, because Google will see that other sites are talking about us, which means we are a trusted player. Next, GEO, AEO, SEO, AI, what are we talking about? It can be very complicated when you're just starting out, when you hear all these terms. So SEO, what I just explained to you, is about optimizing your site for Google. AEO is about optimizing your site for Google AI Overview. It's not yet available in France at the time I'm recording this video. Here, I live in Budapest, Hungary, and so AEO is for optimizing for Google AI Overview. It's simply a short summary that Google will display when you ask a question in the search bar. GEO, what we're talking about here, you and I, is optimizing your site for AIs like ChatGPT. For example, when you ask ChatGPT for information or a question, optimizing your site or other things, as you'll see later, to be cited by ChatGPT, that's what we call GEO. And SEO is precisely about automating your SEO with AI. So here, for example, it could be creating lots of pages on your site using artificial intelligence. What's really important to understand here is that GEO is the big topic right now. It's the one that's truly relevant. I've already made videos about SEO for you, dozens of videos on my YouTube channel. And AEO is still quite underdeveloped. And there's little difference with what I'm going to explain to you today. So it's actually great that we're focusing only on GEO today. This slide is the most important slide of my entire presentation. By the end of this explanation, you'll have a good portion of the information you need to know. To understand how to optimize your presence in AIs, you first need to understand how AIs work. You can't take action without knowing how an AI works. Now, you don't need a master's degree in AI or to be an engineer, because here we're really just dealing with very simple mechanics. The user, all the way on the left, will have a question, which we call a prompt. They'll send it to the AI. Next, to use the example of ChatGPT, ChatGPT will do what's called a fan out. Fan out means taking the prompt and generating lots of keywords, defining a bunch of keywords to perform a search. So far, so clear. For example, if I ask ChatGPT, what is the best brand of coffee mug, then ChatGPT will generate several keywords. For instance, best brand of coffee mug. Which coffee mugs are the most durable? Which are the most beautiful coffee mugs? Which coffee mugs are dishwasher safe? Which coffee mugs are the largest, for example? It will ask a lot of questions. All of these questions will be sent, thank you, to a search engine. It's not official. We don't know if it's Google or Bing. Currently, everyone agrees that the results are really very close to Google's. So it will send all these keywords. So it will run a lot of searches in parallel on the search engines. And then it will take all the sources from all the searches it has done, then analyze all the sites and respond to the person. So as we can see here, actually, apart from the fan out, it's still SEO. We'll need to rank for these keywords on Google and Bing in order to be first on search engines like Google and Bing and thus be cited most often in SEO responses so that the AI sees us regularly. Okay, so let me explain again very simply. The user asks the AI a question, and the AI turns that question into several keywords, which it will then search for on the search engines. The search engines will display results, and the AI will then analyze these results in parallel to determine which is the most likely, the most accurate answer to provide to the user. And it's really important to understand this, and seriously, please pay attention to what I'm saying. The AI's goal is to answer the question by providing what is most probable, what comes as close as possible to the truth. AI itself is very minimally biased. It may be slightly censored on certain topics, but when it comes to domestic subjects, like e-commerce or even service offerings, it has no reason to recommend one provider over another. So once we understand that, we say to ourselves, okay, so what we need to do is first figure out how to be well ranked on Google and Bing, and then understand which keywords in our field, in our business, users are likely to search for. Once we've figured out how to improve our SEO and identified the keywords that the AI looks for based on certain prompts, so 3 things, we'll be able to take action using the process I'm going to show you. Next, section 7, studies on GEO and Google overview. Here, it's also important to take a look at the studies that have been conducted by major players. I launched my software a year ago, okay, that's great, but let's be humble. Let's take a step back and try to look at things objectively. What has been done by other players? Here, all the way to the left, you can see a study from Search Engine Land that looked at which types of content were best ranked in different AIs. Here, let's take a look. The sources for Google AI Overview, the little summary from Google, show us that Quora, Reddit, LinkedIn, and YouTube are included. These are the 4 sites that are best ranked and most frequently cited as sources for answering people's questions. And finally, there's also a huge site, a major software, Ahrefs, which showed in a study that what mattered most in the answers from Google AI Overview was what was branded. So we had web mentions, the fact of being mentioned in articles with our brand name, the fact that our brand is mentioned in link anchors, and also that our brand name is searched for a lot. And those are the 3 things that are the most striking, that have the biggest impact on SEO. Then we have domain authority and other elements of traditional SEO. But here, what you really need to remember is that firstly, the sites most often used as sources are social platforms where anyone can create content. And here you can see that what's super important is that people are talking about us. No matter the format, people need to be talking about our brand. Our brand and our company need to be popular in our industry sector. Next, number 8, the difference between SEO and GEO. I've just explained the pillars of SEO and how GEO works. Now, I'd like us to really use this diagram to make a clear, straightforward distinction between what SEO is and what GEO is. So your prospects will be able to search for information on Google or on ChatGPT. Google will look at the searched keyword and the user's information, such as their history and location. Based on that, the search engine will use its algorithm to recommend websites. Here, the websites, the 3 tools we've seen, the 3 pillars of SEO, were the authority of their domain, which is the trust pillar, the performance and speed, meaning the accessibility of their site, and the quality of their content. So that was about creating relevant pages on the right keywords. But aside from that, what are AIs going to implement? AIs will also rely on 3 things. Fairly general. First, their dataset, meaning their internal knowledge. Sometimes they won't do searches on Google. For example, when you just ask an informational question like how to make coffee, in that case, sometimes it won't cite a source because it won't need to. It will already have the answer in its dataset. Next, it will look at the user's information. Like Google, it will check other conversations if that feature is enabled, as well as the user's location. Then, of course, it will look at the prompt's keyword, what the person is looking for as an answer. Based on that, if it needs to go online and do a search, it will look at several things. First, as we said, it will look at web results. As we saw here, the AI sends its keywords or even its prompt to Google and Bing, and so it will look at what comes up. Next, it will look at online reviews. That's really important to keep in mind. It will go see what's being said about us. If it sees that our brand regularly appears, for example, in the media, or that our website is well ranked, it might check out our profile. Google My Business. It can also look at our Trustpilot profile. These are things that are very important. So, it will check our online reviews on platforms, but also in the media. For example, Le Monde, a newspaper among many others. And based on that, it will look at the frequency of mentions to determine, okay, what are all the results? Which brand is mentioned regularly on the web? And what is the quality of those mentions? Are there online reviews? Are there media outlets talking about this brand? That is essentially it. So, as you can clearly see, there is absolutely no GEO and there is no AI ranking possible without a solid foundation and without a huge, robust core of traditional SEO practices. Now, since I personally come from a deep scientific background just a few years ago, I really like to represent these complex concepts as mathematical equations. So GEO, in my view, is my concept, my hypothesis, my thesis. We could represent it like this. GEO is equal to your SEO, so your search ranking plus your PR. PR means public relations, it's the media, it's your online reputation, divided by your competition, because you might have a small SEO and a small public relations presence. But if you don't have much competition, you'll already get a high score. On the other hand, if you have strong SEO and strong public relations, but you're up against massive competition, you're facing huge players who have millions of euros to invest in marketing every month and have been around for decades, so it's going to be very difficult to get a good score. GEO, I want to make it clear, there is no score. No predefined GEO score, it's just like SEO tools. Each has its own algorithm, its own calculation method to determine what score it wants to assign to a company and therefore to SEO. And then PR is basically the press, plus reviews, plus social media visibility. Because as we've seen, social networks, they were frequently mentioned in the SEMrush study. We had LinkedIn, we also had YouTube, and in the end, SEO. We can also break this down into accessibility, content, and authority. So there you have it, that's the GEO equation. So theoretically, how do you rank higher in AIs like ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini? Now, here's another diagram, which is also very visual. For those who are less into math and more visual, it's a GEO pyramid. So we still have the two pillars, SEO, which is really the foundation, and GEO above it, which is the tracking layer, and public relations. So sometimes we say RP, sometimes we say PR. So PR is just for public, coalition in English. In SEO, we often speak English, there are often English terms. So here, at the base, we'll have the technical foundation, as we've seen. So these are the three pillars of SEO. Technical foundation, content foundation. And then we'll have trust, so social networks, niche backlinks. And above that, we'll first have the tracking of fan out. So it's super important to set up a tracking tool to optimize the previous three pillars based on the right keywords. And then press releases targeting keywords in influential national media, such as Le Monde, Le Figaro, or Marie Claire, for example. Just to name one at random. Section 11. As I promised you at the beginning of the video, now we're going to look at the GEO Pro 2026 process. So how do you go about applying what we've just discussed step by step in practical terms? The first thing to do is to define your keyword, your persona, and your market. If you have a website, you've already done this. That's it. If tomorrow you want to start a new business, we're going to go back to the basics of online marketing a bit. Define who you're targeting, which market you're in, and what you're talking about. In other words, your actual keyword. Then, once we understand our target audience's problem, the market, and the topic, we'll define the questions and come up with prompts that our customers might regularly search for. For that, we can use lots of little tools. SEO tools that already allow you to track the questions people ask on Google. Because honestly, the questions people ask on Google, they also ask them in ChatGPT. Now, okay, in ChatGPT, maybe they're a bit less reserved. They might feel a bit more uninhibited about opening up and confiding in ChatGPT. So here, we might get slightly more general questions. But again, AI does what's called fan out, which allows for very specific keywords tailored to the question. So for example, if you ask an ultra-specific question about a coffee cup to get, say, Brazilian coffee, maybe the AI will just rephrase it. What are the best Brazilian coffees, or what are the best coffees to recommend? So it's important to keep in mind that we shouldn't go too far with prompts. We'll use simple generic prompts that most of our target audience might search for. Next, the third pillar, there are inevitably people referenced by ChatGPT in every field. In every field ChatGPT, it was companies. The question is, who are the leaders in your market? Currently, when you type into ChatGPT a question you get most often by phone, for example, or by email, is it you who comes up? If not, who does? And that's where we can start to build a mimetic strategy. We're going to mimic what the players who rank first on ChatGPT have done. So we're going to analyze the SEO of the leaders in our market to understand the gap between them and our site. It's not more complicated than that. Next, we'll extract their keywords and sort them by site structure. As we've seen, SEO is first and foremost a very, very large SEO database. And so if your website is too small, if there aren't enough blog articles, enough keywords on your pages, and you're not sufficiently exposed to the questions people might be searching for on Google, you'll need to create relevant content. So instead of racking your brain searching for tons of keywords and sorting them, we're going to take the ones that work really well for your competitors and aggregate them. So you're basically going to do a bit of shopping at all your competitors' sites, right? Obviously using our software, which allows you to do this automatically so you can then create more content on your site. Then, once you've found the keywords, you'll optimize your site's pages according to the Sorank SEO standard. I've planned lots of gifts for you in this video. I've prepared a Figma created by a designer and plenty of other things that I'm going to give you for free. Next, we're going to generate and massively publish all these articles on the competitors' keywords and on the fanouts we've extracted from our analyses. And finally, we'll order backlinks and insertions in articles and cited media outlets. ChatGPT and other AIs very often, to play it safe, cite major media outlets, for example Forbes, the New York Times, as we saw in the SEMrush study, and on a national scale in France, they'll cite other media that I mentioned earlier. And it's going to be super important to determine which media outlets are most frequently cited in your field, because some media have political leanings or even preferred business sectors, which will help you choose the right outlet, depending on what the AI already recommends, so that you benefit from a trusted third party talking about your company. And finally, the last action, the final layer of GEO, is content creation. Optimized for GEO, so optimized for off-site AIs. Once your site is optimized, once you've written hundreds of blog articles, once you're working on your backlinks, every month the work is really just beginning, let's be honest. Once you've done that, once your site is optimized, you'll need to move outward. You'll have to step outside and go find clients, seek out mentions in AIs on other platforms. So that means using social networks and all the review platforms: Google My Business, Trustpilot, Capterra, G2. There are plenty of them depending on your industry. So this is the PR layer, as you can understand. So content creation, SEO outside your site, on social networks, and managing your reviews. Okay, so now what I suggest is to go through all these points. We're going to look at each one and go into detail one by one, but it will still go pretty quickly. Define your market persona keyword. So we're going to identify the primary query of your target audience, which is your main keyword. Next, we'll create the persona profile, needs, objections, language, if you don't have a website yet. And then we'll define the target country for the market and the relevant segments. If you don't feel like doing this yourself, you just have to go to Sorank, enter your site here, click on Analyze, and our software will analyze all the pages of your site to determine the needs, objections, and language of your target audience. Next, we'll create the prompts that your target audience is searching for. So you'll need to list the ways users would phrase their queries to an AI based on your knowledge of the market. After that, we'll prioritize the prompts by volume, by relevance, and most importantly, by business alignment. For example, if tomorrow I'm selling coffee mugs, there's no point in asking ChatGPT how to make coffee. It will never recommend me a coffee brand. So that wouldn't be a prompt with a commercial intent, let's say. That would be a prompt with an informational intent, and ChatGPT would have no reason to mention companies when teaching how to make coffee. So I should choose questions like, for example, where to find the best white coffee mugs, for instance. And finally, each prompt will need to be adapted into variants, so long tail and conversational. Long tail will be with long keywords, for example, how to find the best white coffee mug that can withstand my Samsung dishwasher, for instance. So that will be a long tail conversational prompt, which will be much more informative and, let's say, informal. Let's say, well, recommend me the 3 most trendy coffee mugs right now. So here, we're dealing with 2 very different things. If you do not want to bother with this and waste time, once again, during your registration on Sorank, with your first 100% free analysis, you do not need to enter your credit card. You just have to provide your website, your target market is automatically detected, and then your prompts are automatically generated and sorted using this method to save you time. 11.3. Analyze the GEO of the leaders in your market. So at this point, once we have defined your prompts, we will send them to all the AI models: ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, and Claude. Once we have sent all these prompts to the AIs, we will determine who the competitors are. Because when we ask the AIs the question, what are the best coffee mug brands, we're going to get a lot of answers. And so we sort them. We sort them by citation. The more a company is present in the responses from all the AIs, the more citations we give them. So here we can see it. I use Sorank for Sorank. We detected 573 competitors in the GEO software niche. And we came in 5th. We came in 5th with 58 citations. And of course, it's good to know the citations of your competitors. But what's even better is having their information. SEO, how many backlinks they have, how many monthly visitors they have on their site, and for how many keywords they are currently ranking. And here, we can quickly see the gap for Sorank. Why isn't Sorank the best GEO software? Because I haven't worked enough on my traditional SEO yet. I only have 1,000 backlinks on my site for about 4,200 visitors per month, and I'm only ranking for 485 keywords. On the other hand, my other competitors all have several 100,000 backlinks. Because they've been around longer, they've made more partnerships, or they've bought more backlinks. Naturally, they have more visitors, but they also have a lot more keywords. So here I can say to myself, okay, a quick plan would be to set up regular backlink purchases for Sorank and create more content on more topics. And as for the topics, I'm not just going to pull them out of thin air, I'm going to go straight to tracking them down. What are the topics they've covered? So that I too can create higher quality blog articles on my site to go after them. More keywords and therefore more visitors, and surely move up in the AIs over the coming weeks. So that's also done automatically in Sorank. Every day we send the prompts and every day the responses change.